You are lying in the dark. It is 3 in the morning. The house is completely quiet, except for the low hum of the refrigerator in the other room. Your eyes are fixed on the ceiling. You did not wake up because of a sound. You woke up because your chest is tight and your heart is beating with a frantic, heavy rhythm against your ribs. Your hands are gripping the edge of the mattress, knuckles white under the sheets. It is that sudden, visceral spike of panic, the one that hits before your conscious mind even registers where you are. You know this feeling. You have known it for years. Your body still remembers, even though your mind has already walked away. You read the books. You studied the history. You intellectually know that the church lied about hell. You know it makes no moral sense. You know that an all-loving creator would not design an infinite furnace for a finite human doubt. Your logic is sound. Your deconstruction was thorough. You did the hard work of taking apart the theology piece by piece, but here you are at 3 in the morning, terrified that you made a fatal mistake by leaving the pews. The thought creeps in, insidious and cold. What if they were right? What if you close your eyes and wake up in eternal flames? Why can your mind see the truth, but your body cannot relax? During the daylight hours, you hold it together. You go to work, you drink your coffee, you smile at the neighbors. You have learned how to exist in the secular world. When the sun is up, the doctrines you were raised with seem distant, almost absurd. You can even laugh about them with certain friends. But when the sun goes down and the distractions fade away, the old programming kicks in. Every shadow in the hallway, every strange creak of the floorboards, every unexplained noise at night triggers an ancient alarm system inside your chest. It is a biological reaction. Your throat closes. Your breath becomes shallow. You are scanning the darkness for a threat that you know, logically, does not exist. This is the hardest part to explain to anyone who has not lived it. Secular friends do not understand. They look at you with genuine confusion. To them, the concept of a fiery underworld is just a medieval myth, a fairy tale designed to keep peasants in line. They brush it off easily. They tell you to just stop thinking about it. They do not understand that you cannot simply turn off a fear that was wired into your nervous system before your brain was even fully developed. They do not know what it is like to sit in a Sunday school classroom as a small child, your feet dangling off the chair, being told with absolute certainty that the flames are real, that the torture is unending, and that a single misstep or a single hidden doubt could doom you forever. They do not know the sheer gravity of a terror presented not as a story, but as the fundamental reality of the universe. And your family? The ones still inside the institution? They look at you with that mixture of pity and quiet terror. They think you are choosing rebellion. They think you are walking away out of pride or a desire to sin. They pray for you, sometimes right in front of you, their voices trembling with the genuine belief that your soul is dangling over a precipice. Their fear reinforces your own. Every time you see that look in your mother's eyes or hear that specific tone in your father's voice, it pulls you right back into the conditioning. The guilt of doubting becomes suffocating. Thinking critically feels like pulling the pin on a hand grenade. You are constantly waiting for the explosion. You live in a perpetual state of emotional bracing, constantly anticipating the moment the ground will fall out from under you. The nights are the worst, aren't they? When the noise of the day subsides, the silence leaves a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushes the oldest programming you have. You see, during the day, your prefrontal cortex is in charge. It is managing your schedule, answering emails, navigating traffic. It is the logical adult part of your brain that knows exactly why you left the church. It can articulate the historical inconsistencies, the moral contradictions, the sheer absurdity of eternal punishment. But at night, when you are tired, When the prefrontal cortex goes offline to rest, the older, more primal parts of your brain take over. The amygdala, the limbic system, the parts that were shaped and molded by those terrifying Sunday school lessons. You lie there, and your mind starts playing a reel of what-ifs. What if the scholars are wrong? What if the translation errors do not matter? What if there really is a divine judge waiting to cast you into the outer darkness? The thoughts loop endlessly, and with every loop, your body responds. Your adrenal glands release cortisol. Your muscles tense. You are preparing to run from a lion that only exists in the theology books of your childhood. It is a profound betrayal, feeling your own body fight against the peace your mind has worked so hard to achieve. And the loneliness of this specific battle is staggering. You look around at the world, and everyone else seems to be sleeping soundly. The people who stayed in the church are sleeping because they believe they are saved. The people who never went to church are sleeping because they never knew the fear in the first place. You are caught in the agonizing middle. You are the one who knows too much to stay, but feels too much to easily leave. You are carrying a ghost that nobody else can see. When you try to explain it to someone who was not raised in it, you sound irrational, even to yourself. You say you are afraid of a place you do not believe in, and they nod politely, but you can see in their eyes that they do not get it. They think it is just a matter of changing your mind. They do not understand that it is a matter of changing your biology. They do not understand that religious trauma is not just a change of opinion. It is an injury to the nervous system. It is a wound that requires time, patience, and a tremendous amount of self-compassion to heal. You remember the altar calls, the dim lighting, the soft, emotionally manipulative music playing in the background, the pastor's voice, perfectly modulated to induce a sense of urgency and despair. If you died tonight on the way home, do you know where you would spend eternity? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. As a child, you did not have the cognitive defenses to recognize the manipulation. You just felt the terror. You walked down the aisle, weeping, begging for a salvation you did not even understand, just to make the terror stop. You gave them your mind, your autonomy, your very sense of self, in exchange for the promise of safety. But the safety was an illusion, because the fear was the point. The fear was the mechanism that kept you coming back. A system built on the constant threat of eternal torture cannot offer true peace. It can only offer temporary reprieves from the terror it created. You realize now that the peace you felt at the altar was just the relief of complying with the threat. It was the relief of a hostage placating their captor. And now that you have stepped away, now that you have refused to play the game anymore, the system's final weapon is that lingering fear. It is the echo of the captor's voice, still echoing in the empty halls of your mind. It is the psychological equivalent of a phantom limb. The institution is gone, but the pain remains. The threat is absent, but the flinch is still there. You spend your days exhausted. The hypervigilance drains every ounce of your energy. You are carrying a weight that nobody else can see. It is the weight of 100 sermons, 1,000 altar calls, and a lifetime of being told that your own mind is inherently deceitful. You were taught that questioning was the ultimate betrayal. So now, even though you have left the building has not left you. The architecture of fear is still standing inside your head. You are out of the cage, but you are still flying in the exact shape of the bars. Your wings have forgotten the feeling of the open sky because the memory of the cage is too strong. You try to reason with yourself. You pull out the arguments. You remind yourself of the historical timelines, the translation errors, the human origins of the text. You repeat the facts like a mantra, hoping they will act as a shield against the panic. But facts do not calm a terrified nervous system. Logic does not soothe a body that believes it is in mortal danger. The disconnect between your rational brain and your physical sensations creates a profound sense of isolation. You feel entirely alone in this liminal space. Too skeptical for the believers, too traumatized for the non-believers. You exist in a middle ground where the only constant companion is a low-grade, persistent dread. You sit on the edge of the bed. You put your feet flat on the cold floor. You try to ground yourself. You take a deep breath, but it catches in your throat. The fear is not just in your thoughts. It is in your muscles. It is in your gut. It is in the way your shoulders stay tense, perpetually braced for a blow that never comes. You are fighting a phantom, an enemy made of smoke and inherited theology. And you are so tired. You are just incredibly, deeply tired of being afraid. You are exhausted from defending your own mind against the echoes of a past you cannot change. You are not alone in this bedroom. Not literally, of course, but historically. There is an entire invisible community of people sitting on the edge of their beds at 3 a.m, staring at the exact same shadows, fighting the exact same phantom. Millions of people who grew up in high-control environments carry this exact same heavy stone. People who walked away from the pews, who packed up their Bibles, who stopped reciting the creeds, but who still cannot sleep through the night. You belong to a vast, unspoken fellowship of the spiritually wounded. They are washing the dishes, staring out the window, feeling the sudden drop in their stomach when a specific hymn plays in a store. They are driving down the highway, gripping the steering wheel until their hands ache, fighting off a wave of existential dread that hit them out of nowhere. They are sitting in therapy offices, struggling to find the words for a terror that feels completely irrational, but physically overwhelming. You are part of a silent exodus. A generation of people trying to heal from a wound that society barely acknowledges as real. The pain is invisible, but the physical toll is undeniable. This experience, this specific agony of the mind pulling one way and the body pulling the other, is not a sign of weakness. It is not proof that you are spiritually broken. It is not evidence that the church was right and that an invisible force is trying to convict you. What you are experiencing is deeply, fundamentally human. It is the natural consequence of being exposed to overwhelming, unresolvable threat during your formative years. It is how human biology responds when survival is linked to an impossible standard. You see, the institution did not just teach you a set of ideas. They did not just hand you a philosophy to consider. They bypassed your rational mind and went straight for the oldest, most primal parts of your brain. They tied your eternal survival to your absolute compliance. They linked your core safety to their specific set of doctrines. When a child is told that they are inherently sinful and that an invisible, all-powerful deity is watching their every thought, ready to condemn them to infinite agony if they stray, the brain does not process that as a theological debate. It processes it as an immediate life-or-death emergency. The stakes are presented as infinite, so the resulting fear becomes infinite. And that emergency state gets locked in. The amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats, becomes hypersensitized. It learns to associate anything outside the bounds of the dogma with mortal danger. It wires the fear of the flames directly into your nervous system. So now, years later, when you try to step outside those bounds, when you allow yourself to doubt or question or simply exist without the constant self-monitoring, your body reacts exactly as it was trained to. It sounds the alarm. It dumps adrenaline into your bloodstream. It prepares you to fight or flee, because as far as your nervous system is concerned, you are standing on the edge of a literal fire. Your biology is trying to save you from a theology that no longer serves you. This is why the intellectual arguments are not enough. You can read every book on biblical scholarship. You can learn ancient languages. You can dismantle the theology until there is nothing left but dust. But your body does not speak ancient languages. Your nervous system does not read historical criticism. Your body only speaks the language of safety and danger. And right now, it still believes that the only safety lies in compliance, and that leaving means death. Your intellect is miles down the road, but your body is still sitting in the pew, waiting for the altar call. This disconnect between the mind and the body is incredibly frustrating. It makes you feel like you are going crazy. You berate yourself for still being afraid. You think, I should be over this by now. I know the truth. Why am I still panicking? But judging the panic only adds another layer of stress. It tells your nervous system that you are still not safe, not even from yourself. The fear of the fear becomes a vicious cycle. The more you fight the panic, the more the panic digs in its heels. But there is a name for what is happening inside you. It is not a spiritual crisis. It is not a moral failing. Dr. Laura Anderson, in her clinical research on the impact of high-control religion, gave this exact experience a framework. The fear of hell in these environments activates the autonomic nervous system threat response. It creates long-lasting somatic symptoms. The nocturnal panic, the hypervigilance, the sudden spikes of terror. These are the hallmarks of trauma. This is the physiological cost of fear-based indoctrination. Your body is responding exactly the way a healthy human body is supposed to respond to an ongoing, terrifying threat. The fact that the threat is ideological rather than physical makes no difference to your nervous system. The terror was real. The fear was real. The physiological response is real. You are not experiencing a crisis of faith. You are experiencing the physiological aftershocks of a system built on terror. You are dealing with somatic trauma. It is not in your soul, it is in your cells. And understanding this changes everything. Because if it is trauma, then it is not a sign of divine punishment. If it is a nervous system response, then it is not proof that you are destined for the flames. It is simply a biological mechanism that is stuck in the active position. It is your body trying desperately, fiercely, to protect you from a danger it was taught was absolute. Your body is not betraying you, it is trying to save you, using outdated information. Once you realize this, the shame begins to lift. You do not have to fight the panic anymore. You do not have to hate yourself for being afraid at 3 in the morning. You can start to look at that fear not as an enemy, but as a wounded part of yourself that needs compassion. Your body has been carrying this heavy armor for decades, believing it was keeping you alive. It takes time for the muscles to realize they can finally put it down. It takes time for the nervous system to trust that the threat is gone. But there is another layer to this, a historical layer that adds a profound sense of tragedy, but also a profound sense of liberation. Because the threat that your body is so desperately trying to protect you from, the eternal, conscious torment that has kept you awake for countless nights, it was not even the original message. It was a human construction, a linguistic error that morphed into an empire of control. The nightmare that hijacked your nervous system was built on a foundation of mistranslated words. When you dig into the history, you find that the modern concept of hell, the medieval torture chamber with unending fire and brimstone, is completely absent from the original ancient texts. It is largely absent from the early traditions. The threat that terrified you as a child was the result of a long, slow distortion of language and metaphor. The narrative was reshaped over centuries to serve the needs of earthly power. Think about the physical places described in the ancient texts. There is a word that was later universally translated as hell, but in the ancient world, it was not an otherworldly dimension of spiritual torment. It was a literal, physical valley just outside the walls of a major city. A place with a dark history, a place where refuse was burned, a place associated with national judgment and temporal destruction. When ancient teachers used that word, they were using a striking, visceral metaphor for the destructive consequences of moral corruption in the here and now. They were warning about the literal destruction of their society, not threatening individuals with post-mortem eternal torture. The metaphor was grounded in geography, not eternity. But language changes, empires rise, and texts get translated by people with their own agendas, their own cultural lenses, and their own limited understandings. In the 4th century, a major translation project shifted the ancient texts into Latin, creating a version that would dominate for a millennium. And in that translation, a catastrophic shift occurred. A shift that would alter the psychological landscape of millions of people for centuries to come. There is a specific word in the original language that appears frequently in these ancient texts. It means pertaining to an age or belonging to an era. It is a qualitative term describing the nature of a specific period of time. It implies a beginning and an end. But during that massive translation effort, this nuanced word was translated into a term that means unending, infinite duration, time without end. A word describing an era was replaced by a word describing eternity. With that single translation choice, a temporal earthly metaphor was transformed into an infinite, cosmic nightmare. A physical valley was forged into a medieval torture chamber. The qualitative idea of an age of judgment was flattened into the quantitative horror of eternal conscious torment. A concept that was meant to provoke ethical reflection in the present was weaponized into a tool of absolute terror for the future. The poetry of consequence was replaced by the mathematics of torture. If the word used in the ancient language meant an era, why were we taught that an all-loving creator designed an infinite furnace for finite human doubt? Why was the narrative of restorative justice, which was prevalent in so much of the early tradition, buried under this heavy, suffocating blanket of retributive terror? How did a message of communal healing turn into a mechanism of individual horror? The answer is simple, and it is devastating. Because fear works. Fear builds empires. Fear keeps the pews full. Fear ensures compliance. If you can convince a population that their eternal destiny hangs on absolute obedience to your specific institution, you never have to worry about them leaving. You have secured their loyalty not through love, but through the primal terror of survival. The institution figured out that if they could control your afterlife, they could control your present. The doctrine of eternal conscious torment is the ultimate mechanism of high-control environments. It is the ultimate silencer. Whenever you have a question, whenever you see a contradiction, whenever your intuition tells you that something is morally wrong, the institution simply points to the flames. The fear overrides the intellect. The terror silences the conscience. It is a brilliant, ruthless system of control. It turns your own imagination into your warden. But clinical research shows us the true cost of that control. It shows us what happens to the human nervous system when it is subjected to that kind of sustained, unresolvable terror. It creates a generation of people who are exhausted, hypervigilant, and traumatized. People who cannot sleep at 3 a.m, people who flinch at shadows, people who feel a deep, abiding guilt simply for wanting to use their own minds. The legacy of that doctrine is not moral purity, it is widespread psychological damage. Understanding the history does not instantly cure the trauma. As we have seen, the body lags behind the brain. The nervous system operates on a slower timeline than the intellect. But understanding the history provides the solid ground you need to begin the healing. It removes the divine authority from the fear. It shows you the man behind the curtain. The flames are not the righteous judgment of a holy deity. They are the inherited consequence of a 4th century translation error, weaponized by centuries of institutional power. The monster in the closet is just a shadow cast by historical men. The honest truth: this channel doesn't make money anymore. YouTube demonetized it 2 months ago. If you want the work to continue, you can find the complete 5-volume Spinoza Forever library in the pinned comment below. 3 years of research tracing the historical and linguistic evolution of these doctrines. It is not a donation. It is a library of verifiable sources, designed to give you the context they never taught us. If this research has meant something to you, the link is down there. You do not have to unravel this all at once. Healing from religious trauma is not a sudden epiphany. It is a slow, gentle process of reconditioning the nervous system. It is the steady, patient work of teaching your body that it is finally safe. It is the quiet labor of taking back your own internal real estate. It starts with self-compassion. When the panic hits at 3 in the morning, you do not have to fight it. You do not have to recite historical facts to try and push it away. You can simply notice it. You can place a hand on your chest, feel the frantic beating of your heart, and say to yourself, "Of course I am afraid. My body is remembering a terrifying story. It is doing its best to protect me. I see you. I feel you. And you are safe now." You offer yourself the grace that the institution never offered you. You validate the fear without validating the threat. You allow the nervous system to run its course, knowing that it is an echo of the past, not a prophecy of the future. You breathe through the physical sensations, anchoring yourself in the present moment. The cold floor beneath your feet, the texture of the blanket, the low hum of the refrigerator. You remind your body, gently, repeatedly, that you are here, in this room, and that you are safe. You become the comforting presence you never had in Sunday school. Over time, the alarms will sound less frequently. The spikes of panic will become less intense. The nervous system will slowly learn to distinguish between a memory of fear and an actual present danger. The hypervigilance will begin to soften. You will find that you can hear a hymn in a store without feeling your stomach drop. You will find that you can have a conversation with a believing family member without feeling that suffocating weight of guilt. The world will slowly start to feel like a place you can inhabit without constantly scanning for threats. You will discover that true moral accountability does not crumble without the threat of a fiery afterlife. In fact, true empathy and ethical behavior flourish when they are unburdened by terror. When you act out of compassion and self-awareness, rather than fear of punishment, your morality becomes authentic. You are no longer performing for a divine surveillant. You are participating in the shared human experience. You are choosing to be good because goodness matters here and now, not because a burning furnace awaits you if you fail. The journey out of fear-based indoctrination is long, and it is often lonely. It requires you to rebuild your understanding of reality from the ground up, but it is also the journey toward profound freedom. It is the journey toward reclaiming your own mind, your own body, and your own life. It is the difficult, beautiful process of moving from a theology of terror to a philosophy of peace. It is the hard-won victory of finally learning how to breathe. Come back to the room, the 3 in the morning silence, the ceiling above you, the mattress beneath your hands. Return, just for a second, to that exact moment. Your chest tight, your hands gripping the edge of the bed, the panic washing over you in the dark. Now you know that it was never your soul that was in danger. It was not a warning from the divine. That tightness in your chest, that frantic heartbeat. It was just your nervous system doing exactly what it was conditioned to do. It was the physical residue of a historical lie. You were bracing for the flames of a 4th century translation error. Your body is not broken. It is just remembering a fear that was never yours to carry in the first place. You can let it go. Before we part ways today, if this conversation made sense to you, clicking subscribe sends a signal to the algorithm. It tells the system to keep putting these specific stories in front of you. Because this kind of conversation, the kind we rarely have out loud, the kind that acknowledges the heavy things we carry, deserves to continue. Tell me in the comments down below. When did you first realize that your body was still reacting to a fear your mind had already left behind? Take care of yourselves.